Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Okay, so welcome everyone for the Friday session on Bhagavad Gita overview. So today we're going to begin with a new chapter, chapter 9. Very important chapter. The chapter is titled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So Krishna is going to reveal very, very confidential subject matters, which is so important for our progress in devotion. So the first verse, directly Krishna is talking. Because in the previous chapter also, if you see, Arjuna had asked 8 questions in 8 chapters, and Krishna answered all of them step by step. And then the 8th question with regard to the steadiness of a yogi, the time of death, remembering Krishna or absolute truth, Krishna elaborated it with most of the subject in the chapter, as most of the verses in the chapter. And now Krishna is continuing with regard to telling further more very, very prominent and important things. So here Krishna is telling Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Prabhupada always says Krishna is not addressed as Krishna Vacha, addressed as Bhagavan Vacha. Bhagavan means one who is in possession of all the opulences in full. Vyasadeva's father, Parashara Muni, has given definition of Bhagavan. Bhagavan means that personality who has 6 opulences in full. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashasriya jnana vairagyyoschaiva shannam bhaga itingala. Bhaga means opulences. The first opulence is all the wealth of this world. Entire creation belongs to Krishna. Aishwaryasya. Samagrasya means complete wealth. Viryasya, complete strength. Yashasa means complete fame. Right? Bhagavad Gita is so famous even now in every section of society. Right? So that way, Krishna is having all the wealth, the entire creation, all the strength. When he was only 7 years old, he lifted Govardhana hill. Right? All wealth, all strength, all fame, all knowledge, all beauty. He is the most beautiful personality, and all renunciation, Tyaga. He has created this whole world, but he is not here personally. He is in his own abode. Right? When we construct our house, we would like to stay in that house. Krishna is so detached. He has created the world, but he is not here. That is his renunciation. So like this, Krishna's opulences are described, which are all in full, and nobody has this opulences in full like this. That's why he is known as Bhagavan. Bhagavan is telling to Arjuna, Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyami anusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajnatva mokshase ashubhat. He's telling, I am going to talk to you, or I am going to tell you, pravakshami. I am going to speak to you, Arjuna, on a very, very confidential or most confidential, guhyatama. It's like we have the good, better, best, right? Different degrees, positive, then superlative, like that, comparative. So here, Krishna is telling, not simply confident, most confidential. Very important word which in the purport also nicely. So the most confidential I'm going to reveal to you, Arjuna. This I am revealing because you are anasuya way. Asuya. Asuya means envy. In this material world around each other. Not only to other people around us, own family, we are envious of our relatives, of our very dear and near ones. That is how the material world is full of dvesha or envy, asuya. But Arjuna is anasuya. Anasuya means he is not having any envy. He is non-envious of Krishna. Prabhupada explains how, in the modern context, there are many commentators and big scholars who envy the position of Krishna. Oh, Krishna is God. Oh, I don't believe this. Or Krishna lifted Govardhana hill. It's all simply stories. Or Krishna built a huge Dwaraka fort in the middle of the sea. It's all myth. Like this, there are many commentators or so-called scholars, as Prabhupada says, erudite scholars. They do some commentary on Bhagavad Gita, but they don't accept the position of Krishna as it is. They're envious of Krishna's position and his opulences and his wonderful ways of working in the material world. So, such commentators, such scholars who are not having the factual understanding of Krishna's position, Prabhupada says such commentaries are useless. Very beginning of Bhagavad Gita introduction, Prabhupada says, the first and foremost qualification required for a person to understand Bhagavad Gita is the minimum faith that Krishna is Supreme Person. Details you may not know, at least begin with this much. But the so-called commentators and scholars, great Pandits, they go on talking about Bhagavad Gita, understanding, but they don't believe in Krishna. Prabhupada gives many examples. In our own nation, very big politicians or great thinkers, they read Bhagavad Gita and they say there is no Krishna, there is no person called Krishna. It's all imagination. So like this, they come to some very vague and improper conclusions because they envy the position of Krishna. Envy in the sense that they don't want to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you don't even accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever you are trying to explain on Bhagavad Gita's knowledge is of no use. Right? You just want to use Bhagavad Gita as a tool to show your scholarship. Right? So Prabhupada says such commentary should be carefully avoided. Even with regard to Mayavadis, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Mayavadis are those one class of spiritualists who ultimately don't believe in personality of Krishna, personality of God. They say ultimately God is impersonal. He has no varieties. And right now he has got a personality. When he descends to the material world, God comes to the material world. When again he goes back, he has no personality. He's no person as such. We also become like that. So which means their improper knowledge, understanding with regard to what is Krishna's position is what is making them very you can say, insufficient in their understanding. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told us, Mayavadi Bhashya Sunile Haya Sarvanash. Never hear the commentaries of any such impersonalists or so-called commentators who don't have proper understanding of who is Krishna. Prabhupada very clearly says, such commentaries should be carefully avoided. We should only hear about Krishna from Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee. Right? Otherwise, hearing any such commentaries who are not devotees or non-devotees will not help you progress in devotion. Very important. Right? Very Krishna is hinting out what is the qualification for us to progress in our spiritual life. Arjuna's qualification, Krishna is mentioning, he is anasuya. Anasuya means he is non-envious. He is not having any asuya, matsarata. Right? The very fact that we're in the material world is, we are asuya. If you remember, in the 7th chapter, there's a very important verse. Ichha dvesha samuthena, verse number 27. Krishna says, why we are in the material world? Because we have envied Krishna and we want to imitate Krishna. Ichha dvesha. Dvesha means envy again. We have envied Krishna and we want to imitate Krishna. That's the reason we are in the material world. But we should understand our position is very infinitesimal, very minute. So, when a living entity wants to imitate Krishna, want to take up the position of Krishna, that is the cause of the living entities fall down to the material world from spiritual world. Right? Krishna explained the peace formula in chapter 5. When you understand Krishna as the enjoyer of all activities, all sacrifices, Krishna is the proprietor of all the planets, devatas, Krishna is the supreme well-wisher, only then you can have peace. But we want to imitate Krishna's position as I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, I am the well-wisher, I want to become big man. This is what our whole endeavor in the material world is. So Krishna is very nicely hinting out to all of us what is Arjuna's qualification to be a recipient of the most confidential knowledge, the most confidential wisdom which Krishna is going to reveal now. This chapter is very important. Every verse of this chapter is very important. So Krishna is telling that Arjuna's qualification as a devotee, he is non-envious, which means we accept Krishna's position as it is. We don't want to do some internal adjustment in our mind. How it is so? How can you do that? It's like, I'll give an example of envy. Say your neighbor has purchased a new car. You will be starting calculating, or will be start thinking, how come he's just having a simple job? They're not even having any two-wheeler also. They got a car. How? So which means you become very judgmental with regard to other person's way of living or lifestyle. You don't know what is their lifestyle. You simply see something external and want to make a judgment. Envy also means you want to deny the way things are. You want to actually show your aspect of disagreement with regard to God's sanction. Lord has sanctioned something to someone, but you want to disagree with that. You want to express your discontent. Acha, he can sing nicely. He can speak nicely. As though, only after asking you, somebody should have their creative talents to be expressed. That is wrong. That is called envy. The whole Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is make us understand, give up this attitude of Bhagavatam, very beginning, it says, Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. The Bhagavatam is completely free from all cheating type of religious systems. And the qualification to understand Bhagavad Gita is to become nirmatsaranam. Matsarata means asuya. Nirmatsara means anasuya, without envy. Prabhupada explains one more context. One of the Acharya's explanation of what is Matsarata. Para sukha asahanam. You are intolerant towards others' happiness. That is called Matsarata. Right? Your stomach is boiling. Oh, how come he progressed further and I am still where I am? That is called Matsarata. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna is free from this asuya, is anasuya. So that's the reason he is giving this knowledge to Arjuna. And this knowledge, Krishna says, Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam. This knowledge is not simply theoretical knowledge, it is Vijnana Sahitam. It is a wisdom. It is a wisdom which is realized knowledge. Right? And by knowing this knowledge, Krishna is ensuring Arjuna that Yajnatva Mokshase Ashubhat. He will be relieved from all the miseries of this material existence. Just see. Just 9th chapter, if you study nicely, you will be liberated. That's what Krishna is telling in this very first verse. So, in the very beginning of the purport, Prabhupada explains why is Krishna again instructing Arjuna on something most confidential. Why? Because the devotee, more and more he hears, more and more he becomes engladdened, enlightened, enlivened. Right? More and more about Krishna Shravanam, more and more he is happy. More and more his knowledge is enhanced. Krishna says this later on. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Next chapter he says. Devotees always keep discussing about Krishna Katha, so much so that always they want to keep conversing about it. Why? Because it is very much Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti. It gives satisfaction to them. And it gives a lot of happiness. Ramanticha. So, more and more hearing about Krishna Katha is very enlivening, engladdening, and enlightening. And physically, Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavata a nice verse. Satam prasangan virya samvida. Satam prasangan virya samvida. Yat karna rasayana kathaha. He says that when the pastimes of Krishna are themselves very potent, spiritually very potent. And when they are discussed in the society of devotees, they become even more potent, spiritually potent. Right? So, in that way, when you start discussing Krishna Katha amongst devotees, the topics become so relishable that you start really absorbing them so well that you progress in bhakti very quickly. It becomes Rasayana Katha. It's like you do Rasayana means some fruit salad with some condensed milk you add. It becomes very tasty. So Krishna Katha in the association of devotees is Rasayana for the ears. And when you start, relishing it in that way, hearing amidst the devotees, that becomes very important to purify you very soon in your bhakti. So in that way, devotees are always constantly engaged like this in service to Krishna and trying to hear about Krishna more and more and more. So Prabhupada says, the devotional service is not that it is simply a show off. It is all the sincere endeavors of a sadhaka. The mentality and the sincerity of the sadhaka is noted by Lord sitting as Paramatma. In the next chapter, Krishna is going to say, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. When a sincere devotee is trying to perform his service to the best of his capacity, best ability, and want to satisfy Krishna, Krishna from within will enlighten him and give him all the directions to move forward in the practice of bhakti. So here specifically, why is Krishna telling Arjuna, I am going to give you the most confidential knowledge? It's very significant to understand. Prabhupada says, he is trying to encourage Arjuna. Krishna is trying to encourage Arjuna to much higher and higher elevation in his potent service. It's a very important point. In bhakti, it's not that it is static, monotonous. Every day, same thing. Take mala, chant Hare Krishna, read some Bhagavad Gita, over. No. Bhakti is progressive. So, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the very first Shikshashtaka, Anandambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Svadanam. The practice of bhakti is going to give you the experience of happiness. The happiness is boundless and it is ever increasing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Anandambudhi Vardhanam. This ocean of happiness, just like you see, the ocean, very vast, and the waves are continuously coming. But the ocean will not increase beyond a certain point. Right? Whereas this ocean of bhakti, rasa, is ever expanding. Anandambudhi Vardhanam. Every step it is ever expanding. So this is how bhakti is. Then bhakti becomes very enlivening to practice. More and more and more happiness. Spiritual happiness, basically. So Arjuna was encouraged by Lord Krishna to higher and higher understanding of Krishna, so that Arjuna also goes up or moves forward in his bhakti aspect. Because Krishna's services, Krishna's devotional service is very potent, very powerful. So that's why Krishna is explaining, describing in this 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge. What already is described in other chapters, more confidential than that, he's going to explain. Then Prabhupada explains, what does this most confidential mean? What is confidential? Confidential means secret, not to be revealed to everybody. Right? Just like any company or office or organization, there are some confidential documents which are to be accessed by only few people who are authorized. Everybody is not given that authority. So Prabhupada explains, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is more or less like an introduction to the whole book. The 2nd and 3rd chapters, Krishna has explained the nature of soul. That's why it is considered as confidential knowledge. We'll understand more in the next verse. And in the 7th and 8th chapters, Krishna has started explaining about bhakti, but not pure bhakti. So that, ultimately, one has to come to the level of Krishna consciousness, is what Krishna has explained in 7th and 8th chapters. That's why it is more confidential. First chapter, introduction. Second, third chapters are talking about soul. It is confidential. Generally, people don't understand about confidential aspects. But I'm soul. They're all thinking I'm the body. So, whereas in 7th and 8th chapters, more confidential aspects, that soul has to perform devotion service. And 9th chapter called most confidential. Why? Because in this, pure devotional service is explained. Unalloyed devotional service is explained. That's why it's called most confidential. And how to perform pure devotional service is what Krishna very nicely explains in the 9th chapter. So, this jnana, with regard to idam jnanam, what Krishna says here. Jnanam, vijnanam, sahitam. Right? Idam jnanam, vijnana sahitam. What is that idam jnanam? This refers to the knowledge of pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is described in Bhagavatam by Prahlad Maharaj as consisting of 9 different processes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnusmaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. Shravanam means hearing. Then Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting or glorifying. Vishnusmaranam, remembrance. Archanam means worship. Padasevanam, offering respect to the lotus feet, like Lakshmi ji does, Mother Lakshmi does. Vandanam, offering prayers. Sakhyam, like Arjuna is in relationship of friendship. Dasyam, like Hanuman ji is in mood of servitorship. Atma Nivedanam, completely offering everything to Krishna. That is like Bali Maharaj, who was offered everything to Krishna. So, this is theory. This is all you are supposed to be doing. But practically doing it, that is called Vijnana. Just like in science, there is theory we read. In chemistry, if you add this chemical and that chemical, you will get this element. Right? Hydrogen and oxygen is equal to water. You studied theory. You come to the laboratory, and you start experimenting. Hydrogen and oxygen combined, what happens? Oh, you get a water. You get an element called water, molecule called water. So, like this practical aspect. So, Prabhupada says, by practice of these 9 processes of devotional service, what happens? We elevate our consciousness. Right now, our consciousness is material consciousness. Our consciousness becomes further elevated. That's what Arjuna is being told by Krishna. Right? We have to elevate to higher and higher levels of consciousness. If you maintain our consciousness at a very essential platform, that is animal platform. Animal platform means eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But human life is not simply meant for these. It is for more than that. Not only eating, sleeping, mating, defending, it is much more than that. It is supposed to engage itself in the activities of higher thinking. That's what this ability for human intelligence is given for. It is meant for thinking about spiritual subject matters. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesha. So like this, when you start practicing these 9 processes of devotional service, your heart becomes cleansed. Right now, our heart is filled with a lot of conceptions of enjoying in the material world. It's called Kama Sankalpa. False belief system that being in the material world, living a life of material comforts, enjoyment will give me happiness. So these false beliefs will go. That is called material contamination. Right? Then what happens? Gradually, you understand that I'm spirit soul, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, this is my duty. Right? Simply knowing that I am spirit soul, that doesn't serve the purpose. You have to move forward. That's what Krishna wants us to make us understand. In the previous chapters, Krishna has explained about spirit, soul, and some devotional service has to be done. But how to do it practically? is what Krishna will explain in this chapter. That's why chapter is very important. So like how in the previous chapters, 7th and 8th chapters, especially 7th chapter, Krishna explained about his opulences to some extent, not in that much detail. In the 9th and 10th chapters, Krishna is going to elaborate more on his opulences. And specifically, 10th chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga. A lot of opulences Krishna is going to explain about his way, his energy. Okay, so in summary, this verse, first verse to Arjuna, that because you are non-envious of me, I am giving you this most confidential knowledge. This most confidential wisdom, Krishna says. Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. Simply theoretical knowledge, but practical aspects of it, how to perform, how to practice it, is also I'm going to give you the guidelines by which you will be elevating yourself from this material existence and liberate yourself, go back to spiritual world. That is the purpose. So what is that? What is the nature of this most confidential knowledge? Next verse, Krishna says the different qualifications of this most confidential knowledge. What is most confidential knowledge? Pure devotional service, right? So what is this pure devotional service? What is its qualities? Krishna explains in 8 different ways. Raj Vidya, Raj Guhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So there are 8 different qualifications of this most confidential knowledge. The first being, first one is called Raj Vidya. Raj Vidya means it is the king of all knowledge. Vidya means knowledge. Raja means king. King of all knowledge or king of all education. And basically this 9th chapter also is called as Raja Vidya only. Originally Vyasadeva's composition. So why this is called Raja Vidya or king of all education, king of all knowledge? Prabhupada explains that different types of all the different philosophies which we have in Bharata Varsha. There are Shad Darshanas or 6 philosophical truths. Karma Mimamsa, then there is Jnana, Sankhya, then there is the philosophy of atomic understanding by Kannada. Like this, there are different philosophical doctrines. They are called Shad Darshana. I'll not get into details of that, it's more subject matter. So these different 6 philosophical subject matters are there, and apart from that, Vyasadeva has given Vedanta Darshana, Vedic understanding elaborately explained. So that way we have a very vast range of philosophical presentations in our with us. So it's very huge. In that way, what to know from that? What is the essence of all of that? So Prabhupada says, in the 9th chapter, Krishna is telling this is Raja Vidya. Why? Because the essence of all those philosophies, essence of all the Vedic understanding which Vyasadeva has given, is this 9th chapter. If you study 9th chapter, all the philosophical understanding from all the various great philosophers, and even Vyasadeva's Vedanta also is summarized in this 9th chapter, just 34 verses. So you do not worry about studying, so much I have to study. No, just study this 9th chapter. That is why it's called Raja Vidya. First point. Second point, Raja Guhya. Raja means, again, you understand, the supreme, the secret of all secrets, the most confidential, the most secret of all secrets, Prabhupada says. Why? Because the first confidential aspect is to know that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. This only is lacking in the modern day context. Everybody is thinking, I am this body. The basic knowledge is lacking, right? And second aspect is this knowledge that I am this soul, I am not the body, will culminate in activity of the soul known as devotional service, right? So this is what we have to understand from Bhagavad Gita, right? Second chapter began with the understanding that I am not this body of spirit soul, and confidential knowledge that I am eternal, imperishable, and immutable entity, a person. I don't die even when the body dies. All this very confidential aspect was revealed. But I am just I am just a spirit soul having these qualities. I don't have any personal features. Prabhupada says how sometimes there are some philosophical doctrines telling that they give an impression that, okay, you are different from the body, you are spirit soul, but when the body is finished, or you liberate yourself from the body, then the soul will remain in void, shunya, or soul will become impersonal or merge with homogeneous things, right? Shunyavada, nirvisheshavada. That's the understanding which many so-called philosophers, spiritualists are giving to the world. Either they say with the body, soul also dies. One philosophy. Mostly the common people have this understanding. As Prabhupada says, when great professors, they say after the body is over, everything is over. Or some people say after the body is over, you liberate and your soul goes into void. Or your soul will merge in supreme light, impersonal. But this is not the fact, right? Krishna very clearly says in the second chapter, what does he say? That I was a person, you are a person, Arjuna, all the kings are a person. Natvevahum jatu nasham natvam nimi janadipa. Right? He says, we remain as persons. We were persons in the past. We are now persons in the present. We'll continue to be persons in the future also. Our personality is never, vanquished. So that is one aspect. Krishna also says in third chapter, soul is always active. Nahi kaschit kshanam api jardishtyat akarmakrit. So, soul becoming inactive or merging in impersonalism is something very, not very acceptable to our common sense understanding. That's what Prabhupada says. It is always active. It is eternal. It is eternally active. Right? When you understand soul is sanatana, nitya, shashvata, then how can only in this body it is active, after it is liberated it will not be active? It is going to be active forever. So, the activities of the soul in the spiritual kingdom, this constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge, spiritual knowledge. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to teach us. Chaitanya Charita. Chaitanya Charita means, Chaitanya basically means spirit soul. The supreme Chaitanya is Lord Krishna. And he only came as a devotee. And he demonstrated, manifested that what is the activities of the soul in spiritual world. So Krishna himself came as his devotee and he showed to all of us what is that spiritual activity. That is why it's called Chaitanya Charita, and those activities are Amrita. Chaitanya Charita Amrita, Prabhupada explains in one context. Right? The activities of the immortal, eternal soul in connection with Krishna in the spiritual world is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. So, these activities of spirit soul are indicated in this chapter. That's why it is called the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of knowledge. Also, Prabhupada points out how in the present day context, there are so many universities, so many educational institutions, giving so many different branches of knowledge, teaching branches, different aspects of knowledge. And nowadays, even every subject has so many multiple verticals with regard to getting into depth of so many aspects, right? So many subjects you're not even heard of, right? Like this, they are getting into details of all the aspects of material knowledge. But there is no department, there is no university teaching about spirit soul. That is the most unfortunate situation. So Prabhupada always pointed out this when he went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology in America, 1968-69. He pointed out to the faculty there, you have so many different departments of knowledge in your university, but there is no one department which is specifically studying about soul. Why? It's the most important part of our existence, our body. If soul is not there, the body is useless. It has no value. So still the stress is put on the body and bodily necessities of life. There is no endeavor to understand about the spirit soul, unfortunately. Right? This is the point. That's why it is most confidential. So it is the king of all education. It is the secret of all secrets, most confidential. Thirdly, Pavitram. This knowledge is considered to be the most purest of all. Right? How it is purest, Prabhupada explains. In the Vedic scriptures, Padma Purana especially, it describes how every action we do is going to result in various reactions. Right? Especially the activities which are not sanctioned in scriptures, they are called sins. And when you do them, then you get implicated in sinful reactions. Sinful activities lead to sinful reactions, and that way you're getting entangled in the material world one after another. Right? So one action when you do is not that you get a reaction immediately. Prabhupada explains how. Just like when you sow a seed, the seed will not become a big tree and start producing fruits immediately. The bija is stored in our subtle body, mind, intelligence, ego body, and slowly it will manifest. Right? It is called bija, then kutastha. Then slowly it starts sprouting. Then at one point of time it sprouts and becomes a plant, a tree. Then it starts giving fruits, flowers, phalonmukha. So there are different stages of sinful activities getting fructified or manifesting in our life. Our life is a complex chain of action reactions of so many such activities what we have done in our previous life, which are all stored in different bijas, karma bijas, and those karma bijas are fructifying slowly. Some are in the seed stage, some are just started. They are in the seedling stage. Some have grown to trees. Some are producing fruits. So the experience of happiness, distress we are going through in the material world right now is the resultant actions or results of all the fruits which we are experiencing, which we have, which is grown into trees, phalonmukha. Right? Bija, kutastha, phalonmukha. Right? We are experiencing the happiness, distress of our of the different actions of sins what we have done as a reaction now. So likewise, there are many stock of such action reaction cycles to be manifested. So Prabhupada explains there are sins which are still in the form of seed. There are others which are already fructified and giving us fruit, which we're enjoying as distress and pain. All like this is explained in the scriptures. Whereas when you start performing bhakti, the most confidential knowledge, right? When you start performing bhakti, then what happens? Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo. last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, all the papas are nullified, neutralized, absolved. Even in Brahma Samhita, the Lord Brahma says, right? Yastvindra gopam athavendra mahosva karma bandhana rupa phalabhajana matanoti karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Starting from Indra Gopa. Indra Gopa is a small germ, bacteria. And up to Indra, who is the king of heaven. All are implicated in the cycle of action reactions. Karmanu. Bandhini. They're all karma bandhana. They're all engaged in karma bandhana. Entangled in karma bandhana. Whereas once you are engaged in bhakti, karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam. Bhakti will completely destroy or burn out all the karma bijas. Just like the seeds, if they are not put in the ground, before that you roast it in a kadai, in a pan, what happens? The potency of them to seed or to further grow into a plant is destroyed. Right? Likewise, when you start performing bhakti, all the various bijas, karma bijas, and different stages of sins which is going to be manifest, completely destroyed. So, one who is engaged in bhakti basically means you're going to destroy all your karma bijas. That's why it's called purest. Pavitram. Bhakti means it is purest. It is the most purifying potency. Devotional service, Prabhupada says, the purifying potency is very, very strong. That's why it's called Pavitram. And fourth point, Krishna says, is Uttamam. Is the purest, strongest, and it is transcendental. Bhakti is transcendental. Udgata Tama. Udgata means above the material world and above this Tama Jagat. It is transcendental to the material world. So Bhakti is the purest. Bhakti is transcendental. So we should not understand that, oh, we're discussing Bhagavad Gita, we're chanting Hare Krishna. It all looks like ordinary activities. Or I'm cooking some food, offering to Krishna. No, they are all transcendental. They are all spiritual. This is what you have to understand. They are all beyond the modes. Only it's a matter of your consciousness, how you go on, purifying and becoming more and more fixed up in your services. That's the point. So, Bhakti is Rajavidya, king of all education. It is most confidential, Rajaguhya, Pavitra, purest and very strong, and Uttama, it is transcendental. And fifth point, Pratyaksha-vagamam. Prabhupada says, Pratyaksha-vagamam means you can perceive the results directly. Right? You can practically see the results of performance of bhakti. Just like when you are hungry, very hungry, you are given a plate of prasadam, you start eating, consuming. Then you start experiencing yourself with every morsel of food you are eating. Oh, I am feeling satisfied. So bhakti is like that. It's not simply theory. Okay, you chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavad Gita, enough, nothing will happen to you. No. Practically you can see, Prabhupada says, when you started chanting Hare Krishna mantra, immediately you start feeling transcendental pleasure. And most important thing, what happens? Purification starts. Cheto darpanam arjanam. Right? When kirtan is happening, right, even though you may not consciously want to clap your hands or want to, do some dance, it will happen automatically. Why? Because that is the transcendental ecstasy which the kirtan is influencing on you. So this is the practical aspect. Prabhupada says, even a small child, When Kirtan is going on, it will get up and start clapping or dancing. So this is the practical aspect of bhakti. So basically, performance of bhakti, any aspect of bhakti, when you do, either by hearing Hare Krishna mantra or reading Bhagavad Gita or trying to preach about bhakti, whatever activities in Krishna consciousness, you will yourself feel that I'm spiritually progressing. My consciousness, what it was, it has improved. It is elevated. That's what Krishna wants, right? The whole purpose of this chapter is what? To elevate your consciousness to next level, right? What your consciousness earlier, definitely all of us have this experience. Earlier, I used to have this type of thinking, this type of understanding. Now it is better. I used to, do this nonsense activities. I stopped them. I'm doing much better activities now. So this advancement in spiritual life is not dependent on any other factors. Oh, I'm educated, I'm big man, I'm intelligent. No. No qualification required. The process itself, the method itself is so potent, so pure. Simply by engaging yourself in the activity, you become pure. It's like blazing fire. You just, put yourself in the blazing fire, you start also getting the quality of fire. So Prabhupada explains in this context a nice incident from Narada Muni's life. How Narada Muni was only a maid-servant son. So when during Chaturmasya, 4 months of rainy season, there were some great saints who had, who were traveling and who happened to, Chaturmasya, the saints don't travel, so they are supposed to station one place. So they happened to stay in Narada Muni's house. That time, his mother served them with all the needs and requirements of giving them prasadam and all, arranging their comforts. So during that time, Narada Muni happened to serve them also, along with his mother. And once he asked them to, took permission from them to take their leftover prasadam, right? It is called Mahaprasadam. And because of that, tasting Mahaprasadam, Narada Muni was only a simple maid-servant son who was not having any proper education also, right? He also got taste for devotional service, right? Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bhakta Raja, Pada Dhuli, that is Pada Dhuli, then Pada Jala, pure devotees, dust from his feet, the water washed of the pure devotee, and the prasadam leftovers. They are having great potency. If you can get simply any of them, one of them or all of them, and you just consume them, your devotional service will go leaps and bounds. Will move forward in devotional leaps and bounds. Pada Dhuli, Pada Jala, and Bhakta Avashesha. Tina Mahabala, Chaitanya Charitamrita says. So devotees always are hankering for the blessings of pure devotees. So Narada Muni got such blessings, and they are all pure devotees, those, the transcendentalists who had come. So their devotion, devotional aspect was blessed upon Narada Muni. So this is how bhakti is transferred, or bhakti is mercy you get. When you serve a pure devotee, you will get bhakti. So just by associating with this sadhus, sadhu sangha, and serving them, Shushusho Shaddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchihi, Bhagavata says. When you serve pure devotees, you will get interest, you get attachment to Vasudeva. So in that way, the aspect of bhakti is such that is so potent that simply you engage in bhakti, automatically you will experience the various symptoms of bhakti. So Prabhupada is quoting from Vedanta Sutra. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of bhakti, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. That is the aspect of bhakti. Just you have to engage yourself. When you say you chant Hare Krishna, start chanting. Read Bhagavad Gita, read. Not that, okay, when I become some more pure, when you will become pure? You will never become pure. You start chanting, you start reading, you will become pure. So bhakti is the beginning. Chanting Hare Krishna is the beginning. This is the means, this is the end. That's the point. Just you have to engage, indulge in bhakti. Whatever level of faith you have, start. So in that way, bhakti is a very potent process. So it's called pratyaksha vagamam. One can experience practically the result of it. This is fifth aspect. Sixth aspect is pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. Right? So this aspect, that performance of bhakti is the highest. Devotion to Lord Krishna is the highest. This was demonstrated in Narada Muni's personal example. It's simply by sadhu sangha, he achieves the highest goal of dharma, that is devotional service to Krishna. That's what Krishna explains in the end of this Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Manmana bhava madbhakto. Become my devotee, think of me, worship me, surrender to me. This is the highest dharma. Sarva dharma. Of all different types of dharmas, the highest dharma is surrender to Krishna. Right? Bhakti to Krishna. So this process, very powerful process of bhakti is what this 9th chapter is going to further elaborate for us. One important point with regard to bhakti is that we have to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees. Acharya's directions we have to follow. Right? Even I may not be educated, I may not have studied the Vedas or Puranas, Shastras, doesn't matter. If you simply follow what Prabhupada is telling you, all the knowledge will be revealed. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha devi tatha gurau tasyete katita hi artha prakashante mahatman. Prabhupada often quotes this verse from Vedic literatures. When you have implicit faith in Guru and Krishna, then all the Vedic knowledge will be revealed to you. Prabhupada quotes one more Vedic statement. Acharya Purusho Veda. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Just follow what the Acharya is telling us. Prabhupada is telling us. Over. Prabhupada is telling, chant Hare Krishna, follow 4 regulatory principles, have only prasadam every day, read Bhagavad Gita. That's all. Follow that much. All knowledge, everything will come to you. All perfection will come to you. Right? So this is the 6th point. 7th is Susukham. Very joyfully performed. Bhakti is so joyfully performed. I am only speaking, all of you are sitting and here listening. Any difficulty? No. Very, very good. And when we have festivals or whenever you come to temple or whenever in your house also, you're all offering food to Krishna, nice prasadam you are having. So like this, the practice of bhakti is very joyfully done. Right? You simply have to engage in the bhakti process. There is no very difficult thing like, you have to press your nose and turn your head upside down, nothing. Just you have to sit and hear and chant and dance. That's all. Everything is very joyful. Right? Prabhupada says bhakti is so simple. Even the most poverty-stricken person in this world can perform bhakti. Any condition. What does Krishna want? Krishna says, offer me fruit or leaf or water, anything in devotion. That's all. So, regardless of any condition, any position, any person, any part of the world can just offer these simple things like water or flower or fruit, whatever possible with devotion and love, Krishna accepts. So, God accepts only the love with which we offer the things to Him. So, it is very simple and joyful means no complications. Very nice, very wonderful. That's what it means. So, it is joyfully done. 7th point. 8th point, Krishna says, the qualification of this most confidential knowledge, pure bhakti, is that it is avyayam. Right? Bhakti is going to continue life after life with us. It is eternal. For some reason, we are not able to complete process of bhakti. What does Krishna say in 6th chapter? Suchinam Shimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Sanjayate. Right? You will get opportunity again to continue wherever you have, you have stopped. So it is avyayam, it is eternal. Salpam api yasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayam. So actual devotional service continues not only in life after life, but even after liberation, Prabhupada says. Because actual bhakti begins only when you come to the Brahma Bhuta stage. That's the point. So these are the 8 qualifications which Krishna is telling is the aspects of pure devotional service. It is king of all education. It is most confidential, secret of all secrets. It is the purest, pavitram. It is transcendental, uttamam. It is pratyaksha. Directly you can pursue the results. And it is, it is dharmyam. It is the highest religion. Susukham. It is very joyfully performed. And avyayam. It is inexhaustible. It is eternal. These are the 8 qualifications of pure devotional service. So let us meditate on these 8 aspects of pure bhakti. Further, whatever we discuss is based on this verse. Okay, so very important. We have to keep connecting this the second and first verses with all the different aspects we discussed in the later verses. So I'll close here. If anybody is going to discuss or comment, we can take up 1 or 2 questions. Okay. So we are beginning with Jhulan Yatra from today. So all of you can join online if you are not going to temple. All temples, we are going to start Jhulan Yatra from today. So 4 days Jhulan Yatra will be there. Lord is nicely dressed up and placed in a palanquin. Palaki, what is it? Unjal, right? Jhulan. So you can have darshan and come, and you also can do Jhulan in temple. Okay, so I'll close here. Mantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.